Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter of one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to support me, if you want to listen to these live, it's on Twitch every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to support me, that's on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 33 of A Familiar Death. Are you serious? Trembor exploded. You got me here for a joke? What if I'd been in the middle of something important? Torim's laughter diminished to a light chuckle. Come on, son. We called Marlot's enforcer friend, Bahamel. She told us you two were resting, waiting for some test results. And what if I'd been in Great Prairies? You got me think Dad had a heart attack. He couldn't finish the thought. He saw again what he'd imagined. His father sprawled on the living room floor, Marlot's hand tightening around him. Marlot's hand tightening around his snapped him out. I wouldn't have called if you still there. I'm not heartless, you know. Trimble looked at his father. I'm having my doubts right now. Took a breath. How did you even know I was back? You took the Cubs' call this morning. You wouldn't have done that if you were still working. Well, you're wrong. Trooper couldn't keep all his anger from his voice. We're not done. We have to head back as soon as we have the test result. Tram, Ronald said, his voice soft. Calm down. They obviously didn't mean any harm. And as for you, Sarine said, her voice hard. His wolf stiffened as the lioness came around the table. He felt the tremble in Marlot's hand, but his mate didn't take his eyes off her. Tremble was proud of him. Most who didn't know his mother withered under her anger. Even some of his siblings were known to vanish when the mighty Sarine was in a foul mood. She stood before Marlot, staring at him. Her lips pulled back, and Tremble thought she'd snarl. Instead, she smiled, hugged his wolf, and said, I am proud of you. Then she turned and stepped back to the table to stand next to his father, who'd taken his seat. Marlot looked utterly confused. A chuckle escaped Trembor, and he found that he was calmer. All right, just how did you find out? You said something about a call, but I wasn't exactly paying attention. He pulled out two chairs and sat down, and they sat down. Like your mom said, I got a call early this morning. I expect the female was your mother, Marlot. She was hysterical, going on and on about my degenerate son having corrupted you. I don't think she even stopped to breathe, so I never got to ask what she was talking about. A male took over and explained how you'd forced his son to mate you, how you did horrible thing to him, and he said he'd sue the entire family if I didn't get you to leave him alone. Marlot sighed. That's my father, all right. He isn't afraid to intimidate people to get what he wants. How did he even get your number? Tremor asked. The council has your full name, remember? Marlot answered. My father would have gotten it from them, then checking the city registry for a Tremor Girdlemane is simple. From there, it's just a few searches or call to get your birth information. He chuckled. He must have been livid when he found out you had 3 mothers. We're lions, Leia said. How else would it be? There aren't any lions there. And they're set in their ways. I didn't think they knew how to search the network. Most of them probably don't, even though it exists, but my father has never been afraid of technology. He prides himself on keeping up with advancements. Trevor nodded. He did explain where his wolf had gotten started with computers. Irina leaned forward. What I'd like to know is why you did it there and without us. You should have known. You should have let us know what you were planning. We would have been there, you know that. Trevor couldn't help smiling at the idea of his entire family descending on the farming town and terrifying everyone there. As an answer to his mother, he pointed to Marlot. His wolf sighed. It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. I was angry, so I forced him to sign it. Forced? Irina asked softly. Oh, yes, Trevor answered. You should have seen the fight. I resisted as hard as I could, but he brought me down, put his claws to my neck, and said that if I didn't sign it, he would rip it out. Marlowe glared at him. That isn't how it happened. Serene hid a chuckle with her hand. Then how did it happen? Trembor's voice was firm, but didn't carry any anger. Like I said, I was angry. My father had just found out we'd had sex. He accused him of, well, I'm sure he told you exactly what he thought of during that call. When I stormed out, I wanted a way to get back at him, and I figured getting mated was the most effective way to claw him. The council probably had it annulled by now. Not as of this morning, Torrim said. He chuckled at Marlowe's surprise. Please, I'm not just going to take some male's word for what my son has done. The first thing I did when he disconnected was check the contract registry. It's there, a lifetime contract too. His father sounded impressed. So you're not mad at me? Marlowe asked. How could you think that? Serene replied. You not only stood up to someone who tried to take Trembor away from you, you reinforced your position. You claimed my son as your mate, made it official, and now they won't be able to pry him away from you. She beamed with pride. I knew you had it in you. Marlowe snorted, narrowed his eyes. I did, she stated. We're disappointed we weren't there to witness the signing, Arena said, but I understand the circumstances. We'll have a celebration in a few weeks. Get everyone here. That should give Arazik enough time to return from wherever he is this time. He'll be here, Torrim said confidently. After all these years, Trembor got mated. The old lion stood and came around the table. He pulled Marlowe out of the chair and hugged him. Congratulations. Marlowe wrapped his arm around him. Thanks, Dad. When he finally let go, Arena was there to hug him, and then Lyria, and even Serene gave him another one. After that, Trembor went through the same thing, his parents hugging him tightly and telling him how proud they were. Then they sat back down and began making preparations. Marlowe's head was spinning from everything the Lioness were saying. They were going to have live music. Lyria knew a few local bands, entertainment. Serene would get an illusionist and a few jugglers and, of course, a lot of food. The entire family would go hunting the day before. Trembor had said his mothers would throw themselves into the preparation, but Marlowe hadn't expected it to turn into a whirlwind. Trembor's pad buzzed. He checked the screen and moved away from the table. Trembor Goldenmane speaking. Marlowe glanced at him, then focused when his lion's ear folded back. All of it? How? His tail lashed angrily. No, I understand. We'll bring another sample. Marlowe cursed and took out his pad. Whatever lightness of spirit he felt was gone. He moved away from the table as he entered the number. Jaska's health. A female answered. It's Marlowe Blacklaw. I need to speak with Jaska. It's urgent. One moment, please. It felt like an eternity. Marlowe, I was just about to call you. The agitation in the boy's voice made Marlowe's blood freeze. It's destroyed, the wolf said, his hope crashing down. Yes, how did you know? How did it happen? There was a fault in the electrical system a few minutes ago. It caused a short and the freezer case fried. Sorry. Is there any chance you can extract a sample from what's left? The lab was hacked again and they lost those results. Those results too. No, I'm sorry. The case melted. The heat would have destroyed the remains, but the samples should let them run tests more than once. The samples were destroyed too. Marlowe looked at his lion, who nodded. Jackson was silent. I'm really sorry. It's really bad luck that the case got destroyed like that. It wasn't luck. Your electrical got hacked. You probably don't have to worry about anything else, but get an information tech to look your systems over. I can give you a few names if you don't know any. I have a contract with a firm. I'll pad them now. Marlowe looked at his pad, his emotion boiling, his hand tight on it, and he fought the urge to throw it. How did the hacker know to attack Jessica's clinic? Trembor asked. Marlowe fought the anger down so he could focus. Jessica put his medical code in the samples. That's standard practice in case the lab needed to contact him, and because normally the results would go back to him. It got scanned when they prepared the samples, so it was right there for the hacker to see when they attacked the lab. He wanted someone to dig his claw into. What's wrong? Torrim asked. We just lost the one piece of evidence we had, Dad. If I understood correctly, a hacker did it. You must have someone who can look into that. Marlot almost snapped, but reminded himself Torim wasn't to blame for this. We do. Can you call her? Trembor asked. Marlot shook his head. All he'll do is distract her. He found Afirna in his contact and sent her a text. When you have the time, I could use an update. So there's nothing you can do until she gets back to you? Torim asked. Marlot nodded. Please sit back down and tell me what you have at this point. Marlot didn't move. Trembor placed a hand on his shoulder and squeezed. Marl, it's your case, so it's your decision. Technically, it's Arana's case, he answered without any thinking, then sat down. But I don't see that it can do any harm. Maybe he'd noticed something he'd miss, if nothing else. Talking meant he wasn't brooding. The town's clinic was killed a few days ago. We're confident we've worked out what led to the killing, and we've narrowed the pack of suspects to less than a dozen males. He did a mental count. 8, actually. The tests were going to give us a definite answer. You're certain a male killed the medic? Lyria asked. Marlot nodded and laid out what had happened. The sheep, her pregnancy, the attacks, Arana's arrival and taking over the case once the council found out about him and Trembor. The miscarriage, the attack on them the previous day, and finally the destruction of the remains, samples, and results. And you can't get the sheep to tell you who the father was, Serene asked. She's terrified of him, Marlot said, but also devoted. Now that she isn't pregnant, she's sure everything will go back to the way things were. Can't you stalk her until they meet again? Irina asked. Marlot shook his head. He's on the council. He isn't going to be stupid enough to see her while we're in town. How about this Arana? Can't she watch her? Torim asked. I don't think it's going to help. I doubt he's going to have anything to do with her again. She might be devoted to him, but he doesn't care about her. Torim nodded. Still, I don't underestimate the stupidity of people in power. I've won more than one lawsuit in my time because some company owner or another thought that because they were worth too much to be killed, they could use their money to make any other problem vanish. He hasn't shown any sign of stupidity at this point. Both attacks in town were done by a third party who either can't or won't reveal who put them on the scent. And in Great Prairies, power can make anything vanish, Marlot said bitterly. That's why the sample was so important, Trembor added, and he knew it. Marlot's pad buzzed. Marlot's pads buzzed in the following silence. He checked the collar and snapped his pad to his ear. Tell me you have something. I have something, Afirna said. And this concludes Chapter 33 of A Familiar Death. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story as well as the others in the series, they are available at all major e-retailer. If you want a different way to support me, that's on my Patreon. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.